But let's jump back over and look at that Gamma, because we talked about it at the $25 level, and I expressed that, GameStop, as it moved to 25, it was the highest Gamma, but then there was Gamma 26, 27, up to 30, and as more of the calls go in the money, that Gamma increases. So you have market makers continually buy more shares to hedge. It induces FOMO. More people want to jump in, so they're buying calls, buying stock. Yeah, and I mean, it can really move. You saw what happened last year. A Gamma is very real. A Gamma squeeze or Gamma ramp, when it happens, Gamma is very powerful. Now, like I told you earlier in this week, I said, watch out. We get to that 25 level, stock starts to get a little pricey. Now, what I mean in that regard, all of those calls then went in the money. Now the 26 is built up to even higher open interest. So this is your Gamma. As you get closer to 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, more of those calls come in the money. Now, Gamma exposure now is nearly 4 million shares to the positive side for long. What that means is for about every 1% change, market makers got to cough up about $25 million to continually hedge those positions. So how that is derived, I'll let you pause. Read this, please, about spot Gamma exposure. It's the assumed dollar value of Gamma exposure that market makers need to hedge per 1% change in the stock. So positive value long Gamma, negative value short Gamma. So basically, it's to assume that market makers know there's buying, selling calls, puts to people hedging portfolios as well as their own. So basically, if they're part of every transaction, and the transactions are buying calls, selling puts to hedge, market makers provide the liquidity to make these trades. So this is essentially what it is to manage the position in that regard. So when you have positive Gamma, nearly 4 million shares, about $25 million for the price. So it gets a little spicy in that regard. And we're going to look at that. This is for spot Gamma. And we look at our GEX, our daily Gamma exposure. We talked about that. It's very large at 25, and it's been building. Now it's getting bigger. If you go back to yesterday's video, you can see these were a little bit smaller. So the Gamma is increasing above 25. Does that mean it'll happen? No, but it puts a lot of pressure on the stock in that regard, to where if it does happen, incredible upside pressure comes with the stock. And the highest net Gamma is still focusing on this week's expiry, but building up a little bit more for April 17th, building up for the May OPEX, which is your May monthly option expiry, and your June is building even more on that net Gamma. So, building a Gamma ramp into the months is what you see with OTM call buying, like with the 31, 32, 33s. It's essentially putting something out there that's out of the money. But if GameStop were to move up, 26, like you saw yesterday, to 27, 28, those calls get closer to the money. And then you see what happens. You start seeing volatility, you start seeing some more upside in the price. So if we take a look at that delta as well, highest net delta is already at the 20, which is wild because that's deep in the money. And then 25, very strong. Like I said, it was definitely been a level. It was a tough level to break last year until it wasn't. This year it was kind of the same once it had come back below. But now that you're seeing 25, more insider buying. And I noted yesterday the new insider buying. GameStop employs, there's a policy where they have to own X amount of stock based on their position, their title within the company. And they've already been in compliance with that policy since February of 2024. So all of these buys just further cement their thesis, on the stock and the sentiment on the stock. But your highest delta exposure is this week, next week, and then it's ramping up. So like I said, GameStop maintains these prices and or higher. You're going to see some volatility, and you're going to see more call buying, more share buying, more hedging for market makers. You would kind of, in theory, see a similar vibe to what you saw last year. Now, last year, there was a lot of different technicals there. You had Roaring Kitty lurking around and posting. So I'm not sure. Does he show up? I don't know. All we know is what we can work with when we see it at the time. But definitely something to consider. Like I said, when we talked about this last year, when the stock was 22, 23, I said, hey, we get to that Gamma level at 25, this thing could really rocket to 30 or higher. And it did. So I'm here to always, share the data, put you in a position to help you understand the data. I'm always here to answer questions. Honestly, my point here is always just to see others lose less and win a little bit more. And I think that's possible through education, long form content, short form content. So yeah, very interesting. So let's take a look at that